I remember today, suddenly, that when I was a teen, I was called a whore. And that was a very, very painful moment for me because it was completely untrue, made up by the boys I was surrounding myself with back then, and especially by my boyfriend, whom I was refusing to have intimate relationships with. I am Anka Lavinia, and I'm an energetic alchemist. Welcome on my channel, welcome here, where we speak truth, where we speak energy, where we speak new earth and feminine leadership. Please, if you enjoy, if you resonate, keep watching, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. My story is the story of a lot of women and of a lot of teenager girls. What actually happened there was persecution, was spiritual demonic attack. And today I am not afraid or ashamed to speak about it anymore. I have been for my entire life. I've been hiding it because I did not understand what was going on there, and because shame had a big part to play in my life. Not anymore. Do you remember who else was called a prostitute and denigrated to such degree in history? Maybe the book behind me is a hint. Yeah, Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene is one of my mentors and one of the women that I have a connection with for many, many years now. And yeah, just a note here, the book behind me came to me. I was co-authoring this book in exactly 2022. Said the year of the Magdalene because of the 22 of July when we celebrate her birthday. Going back to the story, in historically, there has been enormous spiritual war and persecution that has been hidden from us, and more so, not only hidden, but made up in such a way that that is not real, that people don't believe in it. They don't believe that that is real. They don't believe that demon exists. They don't believe that spiritual attack is a thing. And this, it is not just a thing. It's a very deep, ingrained thing that happens not only like now, here and then, on a personal level, but is happening in bloodlines, in lineages. Why did it happen to me? I recently understood that and got a grasp on that, because I'm one of the women carrying the Magdalene codes, which means I'm carrying a Sophianic template, and I'm also working closely and have a close connection with Christ or Yeshua. And I want to mention here that Sophia is the higher expression of the Holy Mother. Mary Magdalene was the human that incarnated as an expression of Sophia. So women who are carrying these types of templates, these types of codes, these types of mission of awakening, like disrupting the norm and awakening other women on earth, having a ripple effect and a disrupting effect on the fabric of reality, are the women who are most often persecuted since birth and through the lineage, in these types of ways that diminish them, make them an outcast. They are not believed, lies are told about them, they have very rough childhoods, they have gone through abuse of any sort, they didn't have motherly love, they had a very complicated relationship with the masculine, and there's more and more and more, and there's nuance based on each of our stories. I got this thing about demonic interference and spiritual war that was happening when I remembered that around 15, I think, 14 even, I was very depressed and I was self-harming with a lot of suicidal thoughts. No one knew about it. I kept it well hidden. I was performing the perfect role out for everyone else in school, home, so on and so forth, but I only know what was going on inside of me. That was something that happened very suddenly. It was triggered at one point in my existence very suddenly. And now I understand, looking back and having, gone through a lot of processing, inner work, clarification, clearings, I see how it was this type of persecution activated so that I was kept quiet, I was kept in the dark, hidden. Even they wanted me to even, off myself. And I don't even know what's allowed these days on these platforms anymore. So I'm trying to find words, even though I will just let them be, whatever it is, it is. So I was like taken away or disconnected from my essence. And I went through a large period of time of being in the dark, being in the darkness. They had a hold of me through alcohol, through all of the things. But the specific thing that I started this video with was that they called me a whore, and not in any way. Boys just called up my home. And my dad answered the phone. And he heard that from the boys. And that was terrible. I wanted to go in the ground with shame. And in the same time, I knew that I was not believed. This was one of the traumas I went through. I was never believed. The same way that Magdalene wasn't believed. She wasn't trusted. She wasn't seen for who she truly was. The same way that a lot of women that come here to speak the truth, that have depth and a different templating, are not believed. And all kinds of types of smear campaigns are happening for them, with them, in their lives. Calling them crazy. All kinds of hate, comments, attacks from people, from close people. All kinds of weird context and situations, so that they do not rise, they do not show up, they do not use their voice, so that they don't speak the truth, so that they don't remember the power they hold, so that they don't embody and be the truthfulness of who they truly are, so that they don't actually disturb the status quo. They don't support through their presence, through their being, through their voice, others to remember. They're important pieces. And even though I am not the special one, it's not like, oh my God, look at me, I'm so special. It's not about that. It's about recognizing, acknowledging what's actually going on, and speaking some truths that are not spoken about. Because there's many of you carrying the same codes, the same templating. There's many of you who carry Sophianic and Christed codes and have a specific mission in this lifetime. By everyone else's standard and expectations, I should have been on a global stage until now. Through the value that I bring, through the depth that I have, through the way that I'm articulate, through the way that everything that I do in my work, in my mission, and I'm not. Part of it is because, okay, I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready to hold that level of, but in the same time, it is also the thing about persecution and visibility and keeping myself hidden, believing those interference thoughts that tell me you're not good enough, you're not ready, you don't know what you're doing. What if you're not right? What if people reject you? What if? See, the demonic attacks are happening when there's little cracks, wounds, triggers, spaces open in you, so that they can hook into that and then they can make a big thing out of it. There's so many of us that are now beginning to remember who they truly are, and also opening their eyes to the truth that is happening behind the veils, behind what is seen and spoken about. When I say this, I speak about the conditionings, the distortions, the interference going on in this world that we were born into. And this is not a joke, and this is not something to take lightly, even though it is also not something to be scared about, because this is not about being scared, this is not about fear, this is not about feeding the same things we do not want to feed, we don't want them to grow. It is about recognizing and acknowledging who you deeply truly are, naming the things, clearing the contracts, clearing the programming, taking your power back, casting out and rebuking anything that is not actually coming from God, standing in the authority and covering of Christ, so that nothing can touch you anymore. Being in your own authority, being in your own voice, calling on God all the time, and actually doing what you came here to do, walking the path of your mission, walking the path of your soul. And I know these things are talked about in certain very niched communities and not at all acknowledged or talked about in the mainstream. What I'm doing is sharing parts and bits of my story so that you can also find yourself in those parts and bits, so that you also are able to step into your true power and not allow the forces that do not want you to speak up to take a hold of you, to keep you hidden anymore. Women are powerful through their nature. Women who carry Sophianic codes and also who are very, very drawn and work closely with Mary Magdalene have a specific templating, an enormous power through their being, just because they are, through their energy, through their frequency, through the wisdom that they carry, through what they remember. And that has been an ongoing work to keep suppressed and hidden, so that this world doesn't shift, so that humanity doesn't shift, so that we don't actually truly remember who we are. And I hope that this short transmission sparks something in you that is a little portal and an invitation back home into who you really truly are. Let me know in the comments what's your insight, what was sparked inside of you, and I'll be glad to meet with you next time.